Chefs, what is the beef? Cam here, welcome to another live video, and what we are talking about in today's topic is a very, very important and potentially a heavy one. Managing your mental health by addressing the root causes, chef. That's what we're dialing in today. And this is going to be a video that potentially will be a little bit longer than normal, but stick with it because we're going to be diving into some really, really important topics and potentially in some stuff that will help guide you and push you not only in the direction you want to go in your life, but get you out of a bad spot if you are in one currently. So let's address the problem first and foremost. What is the problem? The problem is that a lot of chefs struggle mentally. A lot of chefs struggle mentally. And I'm gonna state why specifically I feel chefs and this industry is not hospitality in general. I would say across the board, this is a massive, massive problem. And the reason for that problem is number one, first and foremost, if you think about a kitchen environment, right? You think about where you go to work every single day. Kitchens are based off, and how the brigades run are generally based off the Escoffier system. So it's an old school French brigade way of doing things, all right? So what that basically means is it's hierarchical in structure, which means there's going to be head honcho, exec or head chef, and then you work your way down, okay? Now, when you're in this system, and it's a hierarchy and it's a brigade, basically it's like the military. It's like stiffen up your upper lip, toughen up. If you can't hack it, get out of the kitchen. That's the mentality, all right? So when you have that, obviously the pro of that is that you can produce some serious food as a team. The negative to that is that there's a lot of bravado, there's a lot of ego, there's sometimes bullying and abuse of power. And a lot of times it's just a situation where chefs would not be willing to open up about how they truly feel. So these problems will persist behind closed doors and ultimately lead to a really horrible situation like we have in hospitality, where 4 out of 5 chefs are struggling mentally. You know what I mean? 4 out of 5 have dealt with heavy fucking mental health problems. Suicides are on the rise. And also the other part of it is the attrition rate of staff. Chefs just walking away from the trade every single year. That is the negative. That's the problem with this system and how it's run within kitchens. So you get to a certain point where you're trying to deal with your own problems, and I get that. And I think slowly but surely there's a positive wave happening at the moment where stigma is being broken down and more people are able to talk, whether it's through my page, whether it's through Burnt Chef Project, So Let's Talk. There's a lot of great people out there who are doing good things within the industry. That is slowly but surely improving the situation when it comes to mental health, but still it persists. And here's the thing. So many chefs will address it in 2 ways. Number one is you go and see a professional, and the professional, you will talk to them, which is a positive thing, because talking to someone about your problem will ultimately allow you to clean up your mind in a way and gain clarity. Where is this problem potentially coming from? What is causing it to happen? All of that. You unpack it and you get clear on it. So talking to someone is super important. The other part of it is you might be taking antidepressants if you've been prescribed them. That's the standard for a lot of chefs, and that's the go-to when you are struggling with your mental health. I'm not here to say that those are the wrong things to do. Absolutely not in the slightest. If talking to a professional is what's needed, in my opinion it is. Even with Chefit, I'm not a counselor or a therapist by any means, but I am a coach, and I am someone who's very strong in their principles and knows the life itself. So again, when I speak to chefs on the phone, or Ella speaks to chefs on the phone, we consult them and we try and coach them on the problems and let them, give them clarity on where the issues are coming from. So talk is a really, really, really good first step. It is. Opening up to someone can be a very freeing feeling. But here's the problem. You're not addressing the patterns that led you to the problem in the first place. And that's where my opinion starts to differ from other people's. And that's why I'm very, very practical. I'm very listen, I understand that talk is important, but there needs to be actionable steps to follow up that talk and turn it into transformation. Because if there's not, then the problem is just going to persist. And I'll give you an example. I heard a group of men who were meeting together to talk about their mental health. Super cool. That's cool. Great. Good job. Everyone talking about their mental health, opening up, maybe suicidal thoughts, depressive, anxious, stressed all the time, whatever, talking about the issue, really positive. However, the negative in that is that they were coming together and talking about it. Once they talked about it, they go to the pub, get fucking shit-faced. And that's a problem in and of itself, because it's like, if you're coming together to talk about the mental health problems you're having, and then you're doing what I would refer to as a trigger. And it's not that you can't have a drink, but you got to know what your triggers are. And for a lot of chefs, triggers are going to be vices. For a lot of people in general, triggers are going to be vices. I know it was for me. You know, used to fucking drink myself into a stupor most nights of the week. On top of fucking smoking a rake of weed, just to whatever fucking escape, you know what I mean, and try and ease that thought in my mind. So when I heard that story, I'm like, that's not doing anything for them, because they're talking about mental health, but then they're going getting shit faced, and then they're waking up the next day, and like all those negative emotions are then flooding your system again, and the cycle repeats over and over, and nothing ever gets fixed. Which is why I'm so big on, yes, you need to talk. Yes, you need to speak to a professional or someone who's able to hear you out and give you an objective view of things and support you and motivate you through it. 110% that needs to happen. But you have to then take action and fix the patterns that led you to the problem in the first place. So this is some of the steps that, the first step is identifying the triggers. Do you know what I mean? So triggers for chefs are going to be different but similar in a lot of ways. The first thing and the obvious thing to look at is your work conditions. Like statistically, that's what a lot of chefs will attribute mental health problems to, is work conditions. So standard problems that are going to lead you into a very, very negative headspace. Things like the resentment that comes with doing 60 or 70 hours a week and probably not getting paid for it. Probably getting paid for a 40-hour week. So that's the first thing. It's like, are you in a situation like that? Are you in a kitchen environment where you're kind of laughed at for needing time off, or you know, are you in a toxic environment? Are you in a place where there isn't any respite? Are you in a place where it's fucking 12 to 16 hours a day and that you're just all in, no fucking breaks, just put your head down and get it done? You got to look at your own situation with work and identify how much is that contributing to your mental health problem. I think first and foremost, being practical about it. Like if you're in that contract situation where you're getting paid for 40 and, you know, doing 70, you're being taken advantage of. You're being taken for a mug, honestly. And I mean that. And the only way that that gets addressed is that you honestly sit them down and explain why it's a problem, you know, and why you are actually fucking worth. And this is why it's a bit disgusting, because you're fucking worth it. You should be getting paid for the hours that you do. And again, it goes back to that Escoffier system where you're told to shut up, put your head down, and fucking, you know what I mean? You're a commie, you're a chef de partie, you're a sous chef, shut the fuck up, you don't have an opinion. Like, that's the mentality. So therefore, talking to your boss and negotiating better pay, or fair pay at the very least, isn't a natural thing that comes to chefs, and you're naturally going to be loyal. I know it's a hard process to go through, but a hard conversation needs to be had if that gets addressed. So that's my first thing that I'd say to you, is just look at your work conditions and identify if there's something there. The second thing then is, as you go into lifestyle, I feel that the work conditions and generally what's required of chefs leads them into a really negative lifestyle, and that negative lifestyle compounds the problem and buries you into a hole. I did it 5 years ago, and again, it was a slow but sure, it was a slow decline where I didn't really notice myself getting worse and worse until it was like, actually, I need to fucking have about 4 or 5 whiskeys every night I come home. I need to smoke about 5 joints, and I don't eat anymore. I fucking hit the snooze button every single day. I don't do anything on my days off. I don't have a life outside work, and I'm in the fucking shit. But that didn't happen overnight. That was a slow decline. And that was because the work conditions led me to make bad decisions, because I thought that's what I needed to do in order to cope with it. So that's the first thing. It's not your fault that you end up there, but it is your responsibility, chef. And that's a tough thing to hear, but it's the truth. And I know for myself that I had to realize that somewhere along the line, that it's like, okay, well, fuck, I can get resentful and I can get angry because I'm here, or I can try and figure out how to sort it out, you know? And practically, this is how you try and sort it out. The first thing that you must do is identify the triggers, as I said before. So work conditions, what triggers do you have within your lifestyle? You know, what vices are there? What patterns are you falling into where you know that if you do this, you're going to feel like shit afterwards? So that's the first thing. For me, it was drinking. You know what I mean? Drinking late at night, getting fucked up on my last work day of the week, and ultimately not using my time on days off because I was tired. And because I wouldn't use my days off wisely, I would come into work then feeling like I had no time off, and then that resentment and that negative emotional state I was in would just build and compound itself every time I walked in the door. Eventually I got to a point where I was like, I actually don't know if I'm going to fucking take this anymore. Like, I think I'm going to break down. And that's the point that you can get to. So you have to identify that trigger for yourself. The moment that really fixed it for me, not fixed it overnight, and it's not a quick fix, trust me. It's hard work, it requires commitment, and it's far from fucking easy, but it's life changing. The first thing for me was not just having a moment of like, okay, well, I need to sort my shit out. You know what I mean? Because I don't feel good here. I feel fucking horrendous. But I also know I'm a resilient person, and I know I can figure this out. So in that space of trying to figure it out, it was like, okay, well, what patterns do I need to fix? First thing for me was the morning. And it's like, I need to put myself first in the morning. So something that became my routine, and how ChefFit's routine is now, is morning has to be based around quiet time and exercise. Quiet time and exercise. So that means when I wake up in the morning, I'm not looking at my phone. I don't look at my phone. I'm very, very stringent with my phone these days. Like minimal. As best I can not use it, I try not to use it. Because it's just flooding your brain with all this stimulus and possibly negative emotion. First thing in the morning for me, alarm goes off, shower, go for a walk around the block, come back in, get my headphones on, meditate for 5 minutes, get a book out that I'm reading, read that for 20 minutes, plan my day by jotting down a couple of intentions and tasks that need to be done, and then I'll move myself into an exercise session. Now, that's not easy, but it's something that I've built a habit out of over the course of years. But it fucking saved me. It saved me because it stopped me going into work like a bull in a china shop. And it stopped me it stopped me getting triggered throughout my day and spinning into a fucking downward spiral, basically. So the first thing was the morning routine, quiet time, exercise. Evening routine. You need to imagine it like this. The thing a lot of chefs will do is you can't switch off after work. So the only way to switch off a lot of times is, okay, well, I'll drink, or I'll fucking smoke weed, or I'll do something, usually a negative outlet. The thing that you must understand is that basically by you going into work, you've been fucking thrown into a dishwasher or a tumble dryer for 12 to 14 hours. And physically you're drained, but mentally you're like overstimulated. When you come home, then what's the standard? Well, let's have a drink, stick something on TV, and you're on your phone. Why? Because you haven't had any time to yourself, because you deserve it. I get you. The problem there is that you're going from being overstimulated into more stimulation. So like, again, if you're watching something on Netflix and then you're kind of half distracted by your phone, then you're looking at your phone, your brain is just like an overdrive. It's like fifth gear, foot down, and you don't get any respite from that. Your head ends up in a very, very strange place. The big thing for me in the evening, and it's not that you have to do certain things, it's that you have to avoid certain things. So the big things for me was, okay, imagine I'm trying to declutter my mind after a long day. If you come straight in off a service, your brain is going to be cluttered with all sorts of shit. You know what I mean? Stressing about this person's making that mistake. You're going to take a lot of work home with you. There has to be a process to ease your mind, to take you down a notch and just kind of go, okay, cool. Now work is done. I'm recovering and I'm getting ready to bed and going, recovering for tomorrow. The best way to do that, in my opinion, is number one, reduce phone use. Get rid of the phone. The other thing then for me was positive thing, that instead of a negative vice. So like swap a drink for a fucking fruit tea. So I went from drinking, 4 or 5 whiskeys. Okay, can I drop that and have a chamomile tea? Yes. The other thing then would have been reading and just doing something that just leaves me in the moment, and I'm doing it for 15 minutes in bed until my head is clear and I fall asleep. By reducing the phone use, by replacing the vice, and ultimately by doing something that actually quiets my mind down and just focuses me in a positive way, I was able to get to sleep properly and start recovering. So then when I have that morning and evening routine, boom, now I'm undoing and replacing a lot of the bad negative patterns that led me to feel shit in the first place. That's really important. The last thing and the most important thing, for every single person that experiences a negative emotion, especially if you're in a bad place right now, you need to have direction. Okay? You need to have direction. There's a lecture I was listening to last night of a psychologist called Jordan Peterson. He's a very, very fucking interesting guy. No one's ever heard of him before. You should listen to his stuff. And he was basically saying that without a goal, life is meaningless. And there is a lot of truth in that statement. Without a goal, life is meaningless. And you can end up, especially in hospitality, because the day-to-day work is so demanding, it's very easy to lose your sense of direction and where you're going. And when you don't have a sense of direction and where you're going, we're kind of just, we're going through the motions every day. And when you go through the motions, there isn't necessarily a challenge, and there isn't something that you're overcoming and feeling good about. So this is where lifestyle becomes a real vehicle for a lot of chefs to ultimately not only get themselves out of a bad place, but change their life completely. And this is the process that I see happening. A chef will be in a really, really bad place. let's say they talk to me or they talk to Ella about joining Chefit. And the idea is that if we speak, we're gaining clarity on the problem, but we're also getting clear on the direction that you want to go in. And it's like, what's life look like in 6 to 12 months? If you were to change this, this, and this, and you were to remove this, this, and this, what would life look like? Now you've established where you're going to go goals-wise. And now you have a destination to go, fuck, life would be amazing if I was able to get to there. Exactly. You just set a destination for yourself. What's the goal? And the idea of a goal is that there isn't anything, it's very individual to the person. The things I'd ask you, does it mean something? Does it mean anything to you? Is it worthy of your effort? Do you know what I mean? That's what I mean. Does it mean something to you? Like my purpose is to try and be my best self. And I know that sounds absolute fucking wankology, but it's a true statement. I'm trying to be my best self, and I'm trying to always grow, evolve, and push towards being great. That's always been my goal. That's always been my drive. So it doesn't matter what the next step is. It's not as if, oh well, if I become like fucking bar fit, that'll be my. It's like, it's not about what that exact next step is. It's the fact that I'm going from here to here to here to here. And when you go from here to here to here to here, there's going to be trials, tribulations, and challenges. And it's in overcoming the challenges that you get the positive emotions. And that's what I see happen to a lot of chefs. They'll join something like Chefit. They'll be extremely uncomfortable at the start. And I'm honest about that. You'll be uncomfortable, you know, and you'll be struggling. You'll be like, fuck, man, this is hard. I've never eaten 3 meals a day in my life. I'm eating greens. I'm fucking exercising every day. Like, Jesus Christ. And that process at the start can be a bit of a whirlwind, and it's a mountain to climb. But after a couple of weeks, if you stay in the pocket and you are able to persevere, what ends up happening is you start seeing all these changes and all these results. And then you've got chefs who've been self-harming, suicidal, depressed, and have no confidence in themselves. Now they've put a challenge in front of them. They've insurmounted the challenge by pushing through that adversity, and they see results. And then there's all this flood of positive emotion that reinforces them. They're like, oh fuck, I'm actually doing something really positive here. I'm pushing my life in the right direction. I'm doing the right thing. And that's really important. I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm doing the right thing. And that's where becoming a happier person starts to become a real prospect, when you know you're doing the right thing. And it's so easy to lose sight of that. It's so fucking easy to lose sight of that. And I don't blame anyone, because that was me. I was that person with no fucking direction, didn't know what the fuck I was at. But when you have it, and the direction and the destination that you're moving towards is worthy, it's challenging, and ultimately, here's the thing, don't wish it was easier, wish you were stronger. Here's why. It's the fact that you're going on a journey, and throughout that journey you're developing and you're growing, and there's challenges that you overcome and you feel good. Like, we all think about mythological legends that we hear about, the dragon's lair, where the fucking knight goes to the dragon's lair, slays the dragon, gets the gold. That's a narrative about life. That's what life is. Life is the fucking dragon's lair. Everyone is going to have a different challenge in life, but the challenge is the thing. What's the thing you're looking to achieve? And ultimately, by going into that fucking lair, slaying the dragon and getting the gold, that's the win. That's the thing that gives you your purpose in life. I am going to this lair to slay the dragon. Whereas if you can't answer that question, and what direction are you going in, what's the goal, what's the purpose, fuck, well, of course you're going to not feel good about yourself, because human beings are hardwired for, and I mean this in the wrong, we're hierarchical, yeah? If we win, we feel good. If we lose, we feel bad. Simply put, if we win, we feel good. If we lose, we feel bad. So we need a direction in life. We need a structure in how we live. And we ultimately need a intention that allows us to put points on the board every day. And if we make life about putting points on the board every day, we're going to lead ourselves into a much happier place. But without the direction, without the structure, it nearly becomes impossible to put those points on the board. And ultimately, we end up so buried in a pit, we don't know fucking left from right, and we don't know how to get out of that place. So I hope in this video that I've clarified some things for you, Chef. Number one, being able to talk is really important, but talk must be backed with action in order to make it a permanent change. And the first thing that you must do is identify your triggers in work and lifestyle. Replace that with structure that really works and makes you feel good. The last thing is, without that, if you have a structure with no direction, it's meaningless. Life is meaningless without the goal. So the goal is to keep the goal a goal. What is the thing? What's the purpose in your life? What's going to challenge you? What's worthy of your fucking effort? That's a question to ask yourself and take away from this video. What is worthy? What is going to challenge you? What is worthy of your effort? What's the direction that you want to take yourself in? What I want to say in that, stop focusing on what you don't want to happen. Stop focusing on all the negative emotions and start focusing on what you want to happen. What do you want to happen in your life? Because where you think is going to start manifesting. We think about all the negatives and all the bad things, well, fuck, more negativity follows that. Think about all the positives. Think about where you want to be. Think about the direction to go in. And ultimately, life is going to start manifesting that positivity in front of you. So that's some really, really powerful shit for you to think about and take away from this video. And as you wake up tomorrow, wake up with a fucking fire in your belly. You know what I mean? Wake up with that bit of fucking, bit between your teeth and go for it. You can do it. No matter how bad the times you are going through right now, understand that good times always follow bad. And tough times don't last, tough people do. So wherever you are right now, be resilient and follow the instructions given and really try and take action on it. Much love, guys. Thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it. Catch everyone soon. Stay safe.